Welcome back to the Triathlon Training Explained show powered by Training Peaks. And this week we're going to be addressing when to walk in a race.
Yep, you heard Fraser correctly. Sometimes walking in a race can actually help you get an overall faster time than if you ran it all. But how, I can hear you asking. Don't worry, we're going to be speaking to a professional to find out why, and we're also going to be doing our own experiment of walking and running on those hills behind us.
So regardless of your race distance, be it your local club sprint or an international Ironman event, there will be an aid station out on the course.
Yeah, I mean, on a local short race, it might be something as simple as just some water cups or maybe some jelly babies in a box. Or then you get to the longer, larger races and you'll have a huge array of things like gels, bars, energy drinks, and sometimes even savoury snacks for when it gets really hot and you need that salt. But it's a great idea to target these as your predetermined walking segment because, first of all, we make sure you get in that adequate nutrition. There's no point in trying to grab a drink and you're trying to drink it and you're spilling it all over yourself and you end up all sticky. You don't want that, but also it gives your body a chance for your heart rate just to drop a little bit and your perceived effort to just lower back down.
Indeed, even Jan Frodeno has commented in the past on how he's targeted aid stations with this walking strategy, especially en route to some of the fast marathons that he's run. And this is a prime example from one of the best athletes. So depending on your upcoming or chosen event, the terrain can clearly vary, from largely flat through to very hilly. However, you could be doing a race that is entirely flat, but might include some very short, snappy hills. And this is where doing your prior research and planning for your event is key.
Yeah, well, having just come back from the World Championships in Hawaii, in case we hadn't mentioned that before, there's a great example there. Palani Hill actually comes at the 10K point in the marathon, sorry, the 10-mile point in the marathon. I know, Fraser, you've experienced this hill. It is very steep. And last year when I raced there, my coach told me beforehand, you need to walk up this hill. And I remember being really shocked at being told to walk in a race before it even started it. So I did walk up the hill and lots of people ran past me and I found it at the time frustrating. But when I got to the top, I then managed to pass them again. So to give us more of an idea of when we should walk in a race, I'm going to speak to ex-international marathon runner Holly Rush. Well, first of all, Holly, how do you decide when you're going to walk on a hill?
Well, I think it's really always to do with the gradient, to be honest. So anything 10%, 20%, you're going to need to start hiking up that hill. And also it depends on where you are in the race or your run. Later on, you're going to have more fatigue in your legs, so you will feel it and you'll need to break into that walk. Okay,
so let's start walking up this hill. It's a pretty steep one. What are the benefits of actually walking as opposed to running when it gets that steep?
Well, again, if you're going to be using heart rate like I do, many athletes do, your heart rates are going to start spiking. So to bring it back down, it's a good time to walk and you're going to be able to run off that hill when you get off the top. Another benefit of walking uphill is for your nutrition.
Okay.
So getting some fuel in, maybe taking just some fluid in or eating some real food.
So you'll sometimes actually use your uphill to take your fuel on?
Yeah, definitely. I'll try and time it that's when I can get some calories in.
Okay.
Especially with ultras, I tend to try and eat real food.
Yeah.
And it's quite hard to eat real food when you're running.
Yeah, but then even like when it's really steep, walking uphill, it must be quite hard too.
Yeah, it is quite hard because you're still going to be breathing quite heavily.
Yeah.
And also, especially for ultra running, there is something called a Euro hike where you get down on you're on your knees and your legs and you're using your hands.
I've done that, yeah.
Exactly, so it's quite hard to eat then.
Yeah.
But it's quite good to get it in early on the hill and
Yeah.
then you can power hike and then you can run off the hill hopefully.
And finally, how do you mentally deal with walking? I guess you're used to it now, but like someone who's maybe not done a race when they've had to walk and then how do you deal with that sort of thinking you're in a running race but you're walking?
Well, I mean, again, that was something that for me, being a road runner in the past, I'd never dreamt of walking.
Yeah.
So it's quite hard to get your head around that and that it's acceptable.
Exactly.
You feel bad about it.
Yeah.
But no, I think that once you see other people walking, I found that as a cue actually, seeing some of the other elite athletes and they were walking up the hill and I thought, actually, no, it's okay.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that I found to get my head around was looking at my watch, being used to looking at my split times, and then looking at my watch going, oh my God, I've done like a half-hour mile. How is that possible?
Yeah.
But it is totally possible and that's what you have to get your head around. You have to accept that if you're going to complete the race, you are going to have some walk breaks.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, well, I think that's enough talking. It's probably time we put this to the test. So we've come to this hill and we're going to go up it 3 times.
So we've decided we're going to tackle it in 3 stages. We're going to hit it at what we call our perceived race pace, steady race pace, and then we're going to walk.
Yeah, and then we're going to record our heart rates on all three and look at the effects that it has. Well, I think we're going to start off with our perceived race pace. Are you ready, Fraser?
Sure am.
3, 2, 1, go.
How about you?
You can talk first.
Yeah, I think it's definitely not advisable to run way above your race pace on a short, sharp, steep hill.
Well, I mean, it was my race pace, but obviously it's much above my race pace effort, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's the crucial thing, because you're just operating far too hard for the event you're doing.
And I don't think I could pick up my race pace on the flat now. I need a little bit longer to recover.
Time to run slowly.
Yeah, well, let's go back down and run up more slowly. That's we're a little bit out of breath, but that was definitely more manageable for me. I'm not sure about you, Fraser.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got to think that that's what you've got to be able to keep doing for the remainder of the race.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel ready that I could pick that up from there, and I'm recovering fairly quickly.
Yeah, and it's also about being able to go over the top of the hill so that the rest of the race you're able to keep going at that same speed.
Yeah, well, anyway, one more recovery and then we get to walk up the hill.
So now comes the hard bit. We've tackled this at our perceived race pace. We have also done steady run, but now we are going to walk.
Oh,
are you ready?
So I think I am.
Okay.
Shall we? Let's go.
Go.
Oh, well, okay, it's quite nice walking. I can actually manage to hold a conversation, which is good, and my heart rate feels like it's in control. I must admit, though, it does obviously feel like we're taking much longer. It is a bit slower, but I think it's going to pay off.
And looking at the data that we collected, we can see that our 3 perceived effort levels have a direct correlation to the heart rate that we expected for the 3 runs. So perceived rate pace for me came in at 180 heart rate for 50 seconds. The steady conservative pace was 171, so a little bit lower. That took me a little bit longer at 1 minute and 5 seconds. And then the walking had a lower heart rate again, as we'd expect, 163 for me, and that took 1.5 minutes.
Yeah, and for me, it took me a tiny bit longer for that fast one, 53 seconds, but my heart rate was 173. And then for the slower run, the steady run, it was 1 minute 5. We ran that together, and my heart rate was down in 164. And then the walk, my heart rate wasn't that much lower. It was 157, but it did take 1 minute 30. Well, yes, as I've already mentioned, I used to think that walking in a running race or in a triathlon was failing until I had that experience in Kona, and it's actually carried over quite nicely. I did an Olympic distance triathlon this summer, which I would never have thought I'd need to run in, but it ended up being ridiculously hilly. It was down in Devon and along the coastline, and we got to this section with steps, and I was like, I'm going to have to walk, and all these guys running past me, and I thought, oh gosh, I'm never going to see them again. But much to my delight, I did end up passing them later on and beating them overall.
It's good, I like to hear that. But in all seriousness, it can take a lot of confidence to factor a walking section into your race. But believe me, in the right circumstances, it can be of huge benefit and can absolutely make sure that your overall performance is better. Please hit the globe to subscribe, and if you want to see our video about how to run a sub 40-minute 10K, click here.
Yeah, I'm still working on that one, but if you want to know how to run uphill, we've made a video specifically on that just here.